Hey everyone, how we doing out there today? This is the Flip Flop Investor Show, and I am your host, Todd Bayer, the Flip Flop Investor himself. Every week we like to get together and talk about real estate investing here in the Inland Empire. I like to bring on a local expert or another fellow investor and talk to them about what they do in real estate. And today we have a guest, first time on the show, Mr. David May. How you doing today, David?
Hey, Todd, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. Considering the weather lately, I mean, I should have like that sunshine aptitude disorder. Yeah, this is your month. We were talking about it earlier. Your last name's May. We're in May. I mean,
well, I celebrate all month.
All month. It's like you're not born in May, are you?
No.
Okay. Well, hey, you get 2 months a year then. Yeah, some people they like to celebrate the entire month of their birthday, but this is the May month. So
well, I have an excuse. So
exactly, you have a real excuse. What is May? I mean, what is like the month of May? Is that you have like certain months are like the breast cancer awareness month and things like that.
Well, actually, this one's near and dear to me. It's actually ALS Awareness Month.
May is ALS Awareness Month?
It actually is, yes.
So that's near and dear to you because
it is. I lost my wife to that horrible disease.
Yeah, and that's obviously very hard. We talked about it earlier. I don't know if we want to bring that up again or not, but
it's no. It was one of those periods in my life that I had to get through. And in order to do that, I had to take 2.5, 3 years off of my life, and just to be a caregiver.
You're right.
And so after her passing, now I'm rebuilding, and here we are doing real estate investing and, trying to make things happen.
And if you can overcome that sort of a thing in your life, I mean, what can't you overcome, right?
On top of that, I'm doing cancer as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, it's like, I'm taking the swings. But, it's one of those things. If you're a true entrepreneur, one of those things you have to keep getting up.
Of course.
It's not an easy thing to be a business owner or an entrepreneur. What is it that gets you up in the morning? How many people do you know that go to work every single day and are not happy with their jobs?
Oh, yeah, tons of people.
Many.
Yeah, many people.
Yeah, but they haven't figured out how to get out of that. So it's what they've been taught. And but you know what? Life is going to throw you curveballs.
Of course.
So you just need to be able to overcome them. It's kind of like the military rule, adapt, overcome,
right,
and move on.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's really the spirit of most entrepreneurs. Nothing's going to really stop them. Just because this thing's happening over here doesn't mean they're going to stop doing this, or they're going to find a way to work around it, adapt, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it could be a diversion, but hopefully you don't make that a focal point.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you get into real estate investing initially?
Well, this was an interesting thing. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, had several businesses, had a telecom business years ago, with an antique shop.
So I'm going to stop you on telecom because that's almost an antiquated term at this day and age.
I'm glad I'm not in telecom right now.
That's probably true.
Because we were selling hardware. And that's the only way I made any money. So, and to answer your question, I was struggling with my first round of cancer, and got my W-2 at the end of the year. Okay. So I was on disability at the time and ripped that thing out of the envelope and looked at the number and went, that's all the money I made? Now, as a serial entrepreneur, I'm like, if I'm going to make that little money, I'm going to do it on my own. Yeah. But
I can make that little amount of money.
Right, yeah. So I just want to be able to, not be capped, right, so to speak. So
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because when you're an entrepreneur, there is no cap. There's no ceiling on your earnings.
It's what is your desire?
Right.
What do you want in life? What are you trying to get out of, being here on this planet?
Yeah. And I had a guy actually yesterday before the monthly meeting. He said to me, what is your relationship with the term enough? That's what he said to me.
That's something to ponder.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting
and
it.
most people, even, the wealthiest in the world, they don't have enough. That's why they keep driving them forward to the next opportunity, to the next deal, to the, whatever it may be.
And, but the thing is, for certain people, I might be able to look at that, a billionaire that's got, everything that anybody could possibly ever want or need in this life, right? And, I look at them and think, how is it that that's not enough? And it's because they probably haven't had that mentality shift where, they say, I got everything I need. I have enough. I don't need to continue doing anything. And, some people just have that drive in them, and they don't care about the small stuff and stopping to smell the roses.
Well, I mean, in typical any program, whatever it may be, what's the first question they ask?
The why.
What is your why?
Yeah.
So they try to get you to understand what is your why to do anything in life here.
Right.
Now, we go to work because we have to support our families and, put gas in the car. But is that enough?
Yeah.
There's that word again. So
exactly.
It's almost never enough.
Right.
So, I mean, what you have to do is you have to keep putting whatever that driving force is for you out in front of you in order to, keep moving forward.
Right. Yeah, it's a complicated thing, and it's not something to be, it's not something you can just think of right away. It's something you got to really spend some time with because, what is enough? And, and things can change. What you thought was enough 5 years ago might be completely off the radar now, so.
That's exactly right. So, things change, and things can change very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes you have to adapt.
Right.
So
you were in telecom. It's all about adaptation. Yeah. You were in telecom, which is basically like telephone and.
I'll just tell you. I mean, I was doing for people who can remember the 20-button call directors with the big square buttons, all the flashing lights on them. I used to do open heart surgery on those phones.
Okay.
Back in my 20s.
Okay.
Then it migrated into digital, and then it voice over IP. And,
right.
And
we're still there today.
Well, that's the technology.
Yeah.
And as I was educating myself in telecom management, I remember them telling me, well, we're going to have a computer in our hand and a phone. And I'm like, there's no way. You can't make the screen big enough for me to be able to. And here we are today.
Yeah, here we are with a little computer in my head.
I didn't have the vision.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember one time I was camping, and I thought, how great would it be if I had a little TV right now that I could just watch whatever I wanted to watch, because I had a movie kind of going through my mind, that it was a movie that, I don't know, some 1980s or 90s movie or something.
Was it a horror film?
No. Yeah, those old sleepaway camp movies. No, not one of those. Definitely tried to think about those, not when I'm at a campsite. But yeah, I remember thinking how cool it'd be to have like a little TV I could watch whatever whatever movie I had in my mind.
Now we've got to get those devices out of our kids' hands.
Right.
We're not doing them any favors.
No, and that's we touched on this again yesterday at the meeting. There was a bit of a discussion about millennials and how they've traded basically setting roots somewhere for experiences in life.
Exactly. Yeah. Are they willing to purchase a home? And most of them are very happy renting.
Yeah, renting because they'd rather put their money towards life experiences, and they'd rather have the freedom to move different places if they, and go wherever the wind takes them, it seems.
Yeah.
But, there's sort of a train of thought that's behind that, and that is that some of these individuals, they're the victim of the downturn in the economy where their parents lost their home, and as a result, they were very tight financially growing up. So now that they're out of their parents' homes, or they're at a wage earning age, and they have some money now, they're spending it on the activities and the things that they didn't get to do when they were in school because their parents were going through financial hardship.
So what's going on is that our kids learn from our activities. We may not be teaching them, but they're observing.
Right.
And so when we were going through some financial difficulties, forgot to tell you to turn the volume off on the phone. Okay. That's a big no-no. We're going to get fined from the FCC now, man. No, there's no rules against it. It's just, I don't know. It happens, People are looking for me.
Sounds funny. People are, they're on the.
That could be my next deal.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sticking with us then. Not taking the next deal. I'm sure it'll still be there in an hour.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people in this industry right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot more competition, and there was competition before, but now it's even more stringent.
Mm-hmm.
So to find a great deal today, you're going to have to work harder at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we never, I remember sitting down with my old partner years ago, and we talked about he was a big hunter, so he used to talk in terms of hunting. He would say we're going big game hunting, or we're buffalo hunting today, or we're just hunting rabbit because we're just looking to get our next meal basically. And he was, so for him it was just the basic day-to-day stuff, the regular run-of-the-mill deals. That's what we're working on all the time. But occasionally, we're going big game hunting essentially, and because he's looking for a whale of a deal, essentially.
Yeah, the elephant. So,
Yep.
You're not going to find there's not as many elephants, so to speak.
Right.
So you'll probably be better off doing smaller deals, getting started.
Yeah. And that's, it's really your bread and butter. I mean, that's what we cut our teeth on, was doing your regular cookie cutter vanilla homes that, were the same thing. It's the 3-bedroom, 2-bath or 4-bedroom, 2-bath stuff. And we would those are the easy ones. We can do them all day long.
Right.
But it's the big, weird, funky house that's, down a 2-mile dirt road. And
yeah, with no flow pattern.
Right, exactly. No neighbors. But, it's this really unique house with a pool. And, those are the deals that are kind of fun to do sometimes, but they're also a little nerve-wracking because you don't know what the result's going to be on the backside, because you never know who's the buyer on this thing.
Well, when I'm talking to some of the either it could be a prospect or maybe even another investor, I talk a little bit about gambling.
Yeah.
Because we're gamblers.
Sure.
This is more of a speculative business than anything else, and you got to do your homework.
Absolutely.
You got to be prepared. You got to know what the issues are.
Yeah, and you can obviously make it a lot less of a gamble by doing your homework. The more due diligence you do, and the more homework you get accomplished, the more likely it's going to result in a positive, result. I don't know, using that word again, but
there's always something that comes up.
Sure.
So, and are you going to be prepared for that?
Yeah.
And whether you're prepared or not, you have to address it.
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
How do you usually solve those problems?
Money.
Yeah, exactly. Just throw more money at it, Yeah, been there, and that term, throwing good money after bad, right?
I'm in a position right now in one of those things, but I'm just trying to save the asset.
Right.
To keep it from not imploding on me. I mean, it's not like it's in jeopardy, but I just don't want it to get to that point.
Sure. We're going to dive into that project in a little bit, but before we get there, let's go back to the original, which was, how did you get into real estate?
Oh, yeah.
Because you were talking about you were in telecom. And
I told you that I got while I was battling, got my W-2 form, and this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so I'm throwing all these hours at this. I'm not getting anywhere, and I know how hard it is to sell equipment, and everybody had a phone system.
Right.
Who am I going to sell a phone system to unless you're moving to a bigger space or needing that kind of stuff? It wasn't like it was in the 80s.
Right.
So as I realized, I was working very, very hard for somebody else, and it wasn't anything that wasn't my motivation. It wasn't my dream. It wasn't. I was doing it to survive.
Sure.
And just to understand that I had moved coast to coast, so I had to start. I didn't have a business in place yet.
Yeah.
So I went to work as a salesman and did what I had to do to to make money for myself to survive. And during that period, I got sick. So it's funny how life will send you these, like I said, curveballs earlier.
Yeah.
And it's how are you going to react? How are you going to adapt? How are you going to manage this? Because I looked at that and it made me angry. And it wasn't. I was more angry at myself than at anything else.
Sure.
I was like, this is not good. Am I going to do this for another 5 years? Yeah.
Man.
And I think at that point in time, telecom was dying, and it was probably a great time for me to make an exit.
Yeah, exactly. So where do you go from telecom? Like, what's your next move then?
As somebody who could fix almost anything, I think my one greatest failure was a DVR.
Okay. You tried to fix
a VCR, yeah. It wasn't my thing, but I could take things apart, put them back together, make them work, and it's just something that I have a gift to do. So, and I've been close to the construction industry, although I wasn't the guys putting the the studs and the rafters in and
Right.
wallboard and all that kind of stuff. I was part of that. So we would be running our, low voltage wire and more in a commercial building than a residential building. But it's the same thing.
Yeah. So basically just working in the kind of construction trades and...
Yeah, we're a service company.
Okay.
So with that, you're working all these days and hours and, I was commission.
Yeah.
And unless you're selling equipment, you're not making any money.
Of course, yeah.
So you got to, be out there every day. And it's one of those things where if you're not happy doing what you're doing,
Yep.
it's a no-win.
Right. Yeah, it reflects.
Getting into real estate was just one of those things that, online, I bought into a course. I needed to educate myself.
Sure.
I wanted to know how to do this. Now, I got in because I flipped my family home. I told you, we came back here, I kicked my tenant out, and in order to sell that house, I had to put some money into it. So that was essentially my first flip.
Okay, yeah.
Now, I knew that house very well, but after it being a rental for several years, it had some deferred maintenance.
Yeah, a little, yeah. It's funny because there's a lot of people, and that's how they kind of got in initially, was because they had this property and they had to do something with it, and you had a little cash in the bank, so you can kind of throw it at it and make it nicer and get a top dollar resale on it. But I mean, you didn't sell it though, did you?
I did.
Oh, you did.
I sold that property. Yeah.
You ended up selling that one. So,
well, that's what really gave me my start. Put some money back in my pocket so I was able to invest in a program.
Right.
So
yeah,
it
can be expensive.
Sometimes you have to let things happen in the order of appearance in order to work for you.
Right.
I talk a lot of times about the universe. Law of attraction. What do you want in life? So I knew I didn't want to go to work for somebody else ever again. So we bought in there, we haven't stopped. We just kind of, we're 3 years old now and, just sold one of our houses and looking for a couple more.
Yeah, and so going into that house that you had done, that was a property out in Riverside.
That was, well, I did two. I did one in Riverside, and the last one we just sold last Monday was in San Jacinto.
Okay.
And this one, if you're ready for this was I call it a drug hoarder house.
Drug hoarder.
This was the house in the neighborhood that everybody hated.
Okay. I've seen that house. I mean, in different neighborhoods, obviously.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it affects the whole neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Now, I made a deal with the owner. I guess the tenant that was living there was arrested.
Okay.
Now the house is vacant.
Yeah.
The owner got one of our letters because I believe the mortgage wasn't being paid.
Okay.
And so we send letters to the notice of default. And what happened was we got a call.
Yeah.
I went out, saw the house, talked to the guy. You couldn't even walk through the yard. There was so much stuff. Evidently, the dad was in the house at one point in time, and then the brother, whatever happened. There was car parts
just from
front to back, including vehicles.
Wow.
That I had to dispose of.
Yeah.
In order to because I didn't care about all the material and stuff in the yard.
Right.
It was the house that I wanted. Mm-hmm. But before I could do anything with the house, I had to get everything out.
Yeah.
So I did a video, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, that's crazy, that house."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, but you haven't seen the inside. It's worse than the outside." And it appears that every time this guy was great at taking things apart, and wherever it landed, it's where it landed.
And that's
is where it stayed. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We've seen our fair share of hoarder houses, and some are extremely bad, and some are very bad. It's like,
yeah.
So it sounds like you got one of the extremely bad ones.
Well, this was good, and it's interesting when you're standing out there and your neighbors come walking up to you and you say thank you, and I'm like, thank you for what? Thank you for saving the neighborhood. And I'm like, I'm not saving the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to do a fix and flip here, and I think we've got a nice neighborhood, but I'm glad to be part of, restoring the integrity to a nice family neighborhood that doesn't have, all this traffic. Yeah, all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows what was going on?
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Sometimes we take over these properties and we don't know what the history is with the thing. Sometimes you'll hear, the cops will be here on a nightly basis, and I remember this one house I bought, they had a peephole in the garage door, but it wasn't to look into the garage, it was from the garage to look out.
Yeah.
So they, because they were dealing drugs, and, it's, like, I remember seeing, I'm like, is that a peephole in the garage door? And like, why do you need a peephole in the garage door? I mean, I'm just ignorant, I guess, and had no idea. But yeah, so he's like, that's so they can hit.
Well, the more news that comes out, the more you start to understand what was going on here.
Right, and the neighbors, they love it. I've had multiple neighbors come up and say thank you. And
yeah, it was great. I mean, one of the ladies, I mean, it's a kid neighborhood. It's a little cul-de-sac, probably 13 houses, 14 houses, but lots of kids.
Yeah.
And, one family said, no, I don't let my kid play outside.
Yeah.
So, and to make a very long story short, we got the thing flipped, sold it. We actually pushed the ARV values up in that neighborhood $30,000.
Wow. Yeah, well, neighbors definitely are thankful now.
So everybody in that neighborhood is happy that we came in.
Well, it's funny because I don't know if you ever plan to go back in like 3 months, and you'll see people have like done their roofs. You'll see people have done stuff because of that sale. Now the appraised value of a lot of the homes in that neighborhood have gone up, and now people have a little equity they can pull out, and they can do some improvements to their homes.
Right. Yeah. So they may have been upside down, and now they're at least above water.
Yeah,
now.
Exactly. That's also possible, but
yeah.
Hopefully they haven't been upside down this close to.
Well, like I said, very riding that razor's edge, so
Sure.
to speak. I mean, a lot of families are doing that, living paycheck to paycheck, and not, they're not seeing, where they're going. They're just looking. Their vision is short.
Sure.
It's like, where's my next meal coming from? And
Yeah.
I've been there. We've
yeah.
all had our life experiences, so now we just want to be able to
Well, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to get real good at making spaghetti. Let's put it that way. I mean,
At one point in time, it was ham sandwiches.
Yeah, that works too. Peanut butter and jellies.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a peanut butter and jelly guy, but that's okay.
You
the
can do
same
it for
thing.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely.
Well, as long as it's not top ramen, I'm okay.
Yeah, I've had my top ramen days.
Well,
too,
my kids have too.
Yeah, it's there's definitely a bit of a roller coaster in being with an entrepreneur, especially when they're in between businesses, because usually you started a new one because the old one crashed and burned. So
and a lot of time we hold out until it's too late.
Yeah.
Because it is our baby, it's our dream, it was our vision.
Yeah,
and when it's falling apart, it's hard to say, okay, I need to pull the plug.
Right. And how many hours have you spent putting into this, and like how many nights have you been up working on the business, and to have it fail like that is just, it's devastating. It's hard to do, but it's something, it's completely recoverable.
Yeah.
But so you've done these couple houses, and that's great. So they're the San Jacinto one I know was a success.
Yeah.
But the one in Riverside wasn't such a.
Well, you know what? The one in Riverside could have been a success.
Okay.
This is where we would be educated very quickly.
Yeah.
In this industry, we had put offers in on houses, and we're losing them, we're not getting them, and things are falling apart. And I mean, are we really going to do this?
Yeah.
So I mean, we started questioning ourselves. So we ended up having an opportunity. We saw the house. We walked through it, and we said, okay, this one's got some good bones. It's a craftsman style. I said, I think we can do something with this.
And a big wooden box addition off the back of the house.
It was actually a brick addition.
Yeah. Well, I remember the interior was all wood paneling.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
I remember going in there, and I'm like, David, this is not permitted, is it? Because it was sort of a breezeway between the garage, right?
And it was. The gentleman, you got to understand, this house was built in 1939.
Yeah, originally.
And the original owner built his shop. And I think he was some sort of a metal worker.
Okay.
It's kind of what I can tell, because I found some brackets and things like that that would indicate that. And he paid for the permit.
Oh, no kidding.
To build it.
So that middle section, there was sort of
the one thing
it was like a daycare or something before that.
He
wasn't
didn't close the permit.
Yeah. Well, we've seen that.
So
plenty
now
of times.
we're 1939, 1940, whatever year it was. Now here we are in 2018, and it was really interesting. I think I bought the house and it said it was 2,100 square feet. The house really was only 13, almost 14, and it had this 1,000 square foot addition with a bedroom in the back with another bath. And like I said, he pulled the permit. He just never closed it. And as far as the city's concerned, they're not recognizing it.
Yeah.
The issue came when we went to sell. After we finished the house, it's all ready to go. We put it on the market. I'm looking for a 460, 465, and I'm told you can only sell this house for 418.
Okay. Based upon what, an appraiser?
Actually, it was 415, something like that. It was because we couldn't get that 1,000 square feet.
Right.
And although the 1,000 square feet was there, it had air conditioning.
Yeah.
It had everything it needed.
Sure.
The city just wouldn't permit it. And I went to the city. I probably spent 5 hours in the city, and they're bouncing me between building and safety and planning. Building and safety and planning. It wasn't until we brought a supervisor and those two departments together to sit, and I'm looking for answers.
Of course.
I want to know, what can we do? What do I need to do to fix it to, in your eyes, and they're like, you need to provide a 5-foot setback.
Okay.
Okay, well, this is a brick structure.
Yeah.
The brick structure, the outside is sitting right on the property line.
Right. Yeah.
You can't move it. Oh, yeah.
Back then, the zero lot line wasn't an issue. Yeah.
And the city wouldn't sign it off.
So for egress, basically.
So essentially, because we were done, we wanted out, sell it. We got to sell. So we took a loss on that one. But it didn't stop us. I mean, fortunately, we had enough fortitude. We're in this to win it, so we went and got another one. And, I guess with this one, we broke even.
Yeah.
So now it's time to move forward. Education is expensive.
Yes, it is.
Whether you pay for it through some sort of a training program or you pay for it through
hard knocks.
Making mistakes.
Yeah.
But I think that's the education that's better than any kind of education that you're going to get is in the real world.
Well, you'll never forget that education.
Oh, no, yeah. That's going to stick with you.
So
now you know what to look
education
for.
Right there.
So let me tell you about what happened in the San Jacinto house, because, again, I've only been doing this a couple of years. I know I can fix things. I don't worry about a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I just know, just tell me what it is. Let me fix it, and we'll move on.
Okay.
I told you this was a hoarder house. There was a lot of stuff in that house.
Sure.
Well, I didn't see an electrical panel that was sitting on the floor in the living room.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean sitting on the floor, like hooked up?
They built an electrical panel in the house.
In the floor?
They actually tapped before the meter. They were stealing power.
Okay.
So, and I guess this is pretty flagrant.
Yeah.
Out in those kind of areas. You have to do this live.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
unless you get lucky enough for there to be a power outage in the neighborhood.
Yeah, you better be quick.
Yeah, exactly, because you don't know when that thing's coming back on.
So after we got that, I bring my contractors in, one of them being my electrician. He looks at me and goes, I'm not touching that, and neither are you. You need to call the electric company.
Yeah.
So I did, following directions.
Right.
Well, the electric company come out and cut my power off.
Of course, they're not too happy with you now because they think you did it.
Well, and they don't know the story. I'm still getting them calling me wanting to do an investigation.
Yeah. Well, I've had that happen so many times because, a lot of times when we're buying these homes, the little lock they put on the water meter, out front, that's been cut off, and they've been stealing water prior to us purchasing it, and some of these people with these utility companies are really mean to us,
and they're not all that smart.
Well, and and I try to tell them, we just bought this property, we're trying to turn utilities on. Why would I cut a tag off a property that we didn't even own until yesterday or whatever? Sometimes they're just so rude about it. It's funny.
Well, let me finish the story here. So what happened was, so I get the electric company. So we're going through, and they go, "Oh yeah, you just have to repair the pipe," and I'm like, "Okay, well I repaired the pipe and they failed it."
Okay.
So I'm like, well, tell me what you want.
Yeah.
He said, we need to see the collar. I'm like, it's got a collar on it.
Yeah.
He said, no, it has to be separate. I'm like, oh, okay, great. I bought the one piece, Schedule 40, got it in, wanted them to inspect it, pull my new wires in. No. Here's what I meant by they're not as smart as they think they are, because these guys should know their stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you brought me in as a telecom guy, I know my stuff. I will advise you based on my experience and expertise.
Sure.
So I look to these guys for information. Well, during the course of this, him failing my conduit, I go, okay, I'll have that fixed by Monday.
Yeah.
Now, he has to inspect this. We can't go any further and it's one step at a time.
Of course.
it got to the point where I said, oh, I had one more question for him. I said, let's go outside. And we were outside the panel. And I said, hey, what's this black conduit? He goes, do you have a picture of that? Because now I got the conduit in. It's already repaired. You can't see it.
Yeah.
He just said it's not right. And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. Let me see on my phone. I go, yeah, here it is. Well, all of a sudden, I saw him glass over. And he picks up his phone. He starts making phone calls. Well, this is what they call conduit and conduit.
Okay.
It's collapsible. It's not rigid.
Okay.
You can't pull conductors through that pipe,
Yeah.
which is what we were planning on doing.
Okay.
What I thought we were doing.
Yeah.
Fix the pipe, pull in new conductors, and we're off to the races. Well, because I asked that question, and he didn't even know what was there, that could have cost me another month of no power. And
Yeah.
I went 45 days with no power, flipping a house.
That's fun.
So, oh yeah. Well, thank God for making friends in the neighborhood and 300-foot extension cords.
Oh, no kidding. So that's nice. Your neighbors let you help out or help out in that way, because we've had to use generators and all kinds of fun stuff.
Did that too. So he comes out now. Now my panel is not going to be sufficient because it's only a 2.5 inch. The new regulations is 3 inch Schedule 40 pipe.
Right.
I have to go 90 to 95 feet to get to the box.
Oh my God.
So they have to do a plot map, and I mean this is where time is being consumed.
Of course.
And I need power. I want power yesterday.
Right.
And next thing you know, you have to trench. Oh my gosh! I talked to another guy about trenching just recently. $15,000.
Jeez.
Okay? I trenched this house for $500.
That's not
90
bad.
feet.
Did you get out there with a shovel?
Not me.
Did they make you upgrade the panel too?
Well, I had to because it was a 2.5 inch entry, and now I need a 3 inch entry, and you can't reduce it.
You go to 200 amp
So
too.
yeah, so I put a 200 amp panel. So now the house is solar ready.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're gonna spend the money, spend the money.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not that much more.
It's
just get it done, do it right. So this was one of those things. I don't know. My guess is it cost me $7,000.
That sounds about right.
Could have been way worse.
It could have been, yeah. I mean, but you know what? It's for some people when they're buying a new home, like it's going to be easy because you're not going to, there's not going to be any electrical issues that come up on the inspection report at the end. Like doing it right is obviously painful sometimes, but
that's the only way I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you have to do it that way.
Yeah, and that's something for others to do it. Don't cheap out.
No.
Because it's going to show.
It is.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, I mean, we're liable obviously for up to 10 years on some of these things. So if you were obviously working on the electrical, in the home, because it's very obvious with the the records and everything, the utility company would come out. So if something were to go wrong with the electrical, everybody's going to want to know who to blame and who to sue, basically, because we're so litigious in California. But, they're going to look back at that conduit and say, that was a single collared conduit. We need a double collar.
Yeah.
So like they're going to, they can go back to you on that. They can go back to the inspector on that. There's all these different people. So everybody's just trying to protect their butt, at every angle of the deal. So,
well, you got these inspectors coming out, and every part of this had to be inspected. The trench had to be inspected.
Yep.
Then the Schedule 40 had to be inspected. And then they had, once I got it connected to the panel, they said, okay, now we got to come out and we're going to bring this mouse through, or whatever they call that thing that goes through.
Yeah.
And it has to go through, and I'm in fear. I mean, because my livelihood is sitting in this inspector's hands right now.
Right.
And I'm like, I got to pass.
Yeah, of course.
And because I was, and I made sure the guys are doing the work for me, but ultimately it's my responsibility.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that made sure that trench was at the right level.
Of course.
My guys didn't get it level and flattened down, but I made sure it was at the right level. I measured it all the way, and guess what? They measured too.
Of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I had to make sure that when the inspector came out that I'm not wasting their time or mine.
Right. And one thing inspectors are not known for is being lenient, or
No, they're going to find something wrong. Or they're going.
Well, some inspectors almost make it a point to find something wrong. Like they look even harder sometimes, because if nothing's wrong, they want to find something because they're like it's almost like a challenge to them or something.
Well, working with, some of my contractors, my electrician especially, he goes, well, if you do this and you do it like this, and they're going to come in, they're going to inspect it. If they see this, and now we were talking about the 200 amp electrical panel. He goes, if they see this and they see all the wires and they look good and they're clean and there's no chance of a short and everything's the way they expect to look at it, they might look at something else and they'll just sign it off.
Yeah.
Because they know that the workmanship was done right.
Exactly.
Now, this is one of my issues today with some contractors. I consider myself a craftsman in telecommunications. In order to make a work site serviceable, it's got to be done clean. It's got to be done like that. And everybody has their signature.
Yeah.
There was a technician. He didn't work for me, but, I always could tell one of his jobs because he'd put these little twists in the little cross-connect cables, which we change those all the time.
Yeah.
And if I pull one, I don't want to pull 10.
Right.
I want to pull one, but that little twist complicated everything.
Yeah.
And it was just his signature.
Right.
So to me, it wasn't done right. I mean, the work would work, but it just wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't what I called serviceable.
So, but he would do that to sort of keep it neat and tidy.
And like I said, it was his signature. I don't know the reason why, but if I had a chance to have a conversation with him, I'd be, don't do that anymore.
Like one thing I've done before, like with my home personal, with my media center, or where I have all the DVD and all that.
You're trying to hide all the wires.
Yeah, you're trying to put the wires in, and you get the zip ties to kind of tie them together, and and then you're like, oh, I need to get rid of this old VGA cable, and I need to put in an HDMI now because times have changed.
That's the technology today.
And so I'm like, oh man, I gotta cut all these stupid zip ties off of this thing. It took me forever. And it's just my wife's asking, how long is this gonna take? And I say, it'll be like an hour.
I'll be done in 10 minutes.
Sure, 8 hours later, I'm still in there sweating.
What are you doing?
Yelling, kicking everything in sight.
Should I bring dinner to you?
Yeah. No, I don't think I got offered dinner that
day. You didn't get
No, I don't think so. I think I got I think I got to make my own dinner that night. PB&J, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. But so you got some good flips that you got going on. But you also got a really cool thing going on down in our southern border country down there, down in Mexico.
Yeah, we're international.
You're international real estate investors, which and part of the reason why I really wanted to have you on is for this reason, because we haven't had an international real estate investor on. Now, we've had Patrick Diamond on, who's now down in Mexico doing stuff.
Yeah, he's my partner down there.
But he hasn't been on since he went down to Mexico.
That's because he's not here.
Yeah, he's in Mexico, right? And I don't know if they'll even let him back. He speaks Spanish.
I don't know.
Now,
maybe
fluently.
his visa, his citizenship has been revoked.
Yeah, exactly. But so you basically got this Airbnb thing you got going on.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, Patrick Diamond, he's been doing Airbnbs for 10 years. He's, I believe he's up on the top 5. He talks about the top 10.
Yeah.
But
he's a super host, right?
Yeah, he's been around for a long time, and he knows the system. So when we got involved, it was one of those things. Where are we going with Mayflower Group? We might have been in transition between houses. I mean, we couldn't find a deal to save our life at one point.
Yeah.
And so we were looking for other opportunities, and so the Airbnb thing came along.
Right.
And Patrick's going, hey, I've got a course, and I looked at it, and I'm like, this is crazy. There's a lot of people doing this stuff now.
Yeah.
And it still felt like it was pretty much in its infancy.
Yeah.
And although it was getting traction, and we decided, okay, let's jump in. You
jumped in all right.
Patrick, yeah, I did. Patrick said he's got a course, and I said, hey, let's invest a few more dollars. We bought Patrick's course, and it evidently wasn't ready for prime time.
Yeah.
So, Patrick kind of knew he's got a fresh fish on the line here.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm going to train you guys personally. So he went through all the modules with us one-on-one.
Yeah.
So that was great. I mean, it was just, Julie and I and Patrick, and he told us everything about his knowledge and experience in the Airbnb business. And so he said, start in your own home. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, we got a guest room. Nobody's using it. So after we bought the program, Julie started buying comforters, and we started looking at refurnishing the garage. I mean, that's
Right.
where our exercise equipment was. And
Okay.
I'd have my mom over, and she'd have to inchworm into bed because she couldn't get by the elliptical that was in the bedroom, taking up all the remaining
Which
space.
is being used, I'm sure, on a daily basis, right?
To hang clothes on.
Yeah, exactly.
No, actually,
Why do they always become a clothes hanger?
no, actually, we are trying to use it a little bit more, but we're not consistent.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anybody is.
No.
I think I've owned like 2 sets of ellipticals in my house, and eventually I'm like, just get this thing out of here, you know?
Yeah. So we started, we actually designed the room, coming up with a name, something that's going to be,
Okay.
attractive. But we're near wine country. Although
Yeah.
we're not in Temecula, we're literally 15 minutes outside wine country.
Okay.
So we called it the Cool Blue Retreat near wine country.
Cool.
And we had some pushback on the name, but we went through a whole iteration of trying to figure out, what are we going to call this thing?
Yeah.
And so we came up with it. Julie designed it. We brought in these cherry-colored dressers, and we painted the tops blue.
Okay.
We painted the walls blue, and with offsetting colors.
Yeah.
So it's the Blue Retreat. We want it to be nice and calm and quiet and peaceful. Although we're in a track home.
Right.
And with everything that we were taught with Patrick doing the listing, I mean, we started getting bookings right away.
Okay.
And we learned very quickly that we had to be on our game.
Absolutely.
Because I had a guy pull into the driveway going, "Hey, I'm here. I just rented your room," and I'm like,
I'm not home at the moment, but I'll be there soon.
Are we even ready for this guy?
Yeah.
So we learned very quickly that we had to make sure that our room was ready at any given time. And we get last-minute guests all the time.
Sure.
So
what would make a last minute guess? Are they coming down? They want to be near wine country? Is it for business? I mean,
we get a variety of folks. We get, because we're near wine country, there's over 5,000 weddings in Temecula.
true. Yeah.
Because it's really a touristy town.
Right.
And so what's happening is, we get the wedding guests that are either attending a wedding, business people that are coming for either seminars or whatever is going on in their life.
Or maybe they were at a wedding and they were planning to go home that night, but realized they might have had a little too much at the wedding. And
and some people are coming from out of town.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people from Europe. They find our place. Now, we're in a low dollar amount room because it's only a room.
Right.
With a shared bath.
Okay.
So, we're kind of in the lower scale, but in the Temecula area, there's about 300 maybe.
Total.
Yeah. Some of them are whole house, but a lot of them are just rooms.
Yeah.
Empty nesters, single moms or whatever, trying to, take this opportunity and run with it.
Which, 300 rooms essentially would be a decent sized hotel. But the city of Temecula is a pretty good sized town.
It is, and they just built a couple of hotels there, and the city of Temecula is actually pushing back on the short-term rental.
Of course.
And if you're thinking about doing Airbnb in Temecula, hold that thought.
For a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, now's not the time to jump in if you're in Temecula.
Yeah, it's tricky, because obviously cities are trying to get the tax revenue, which they get from
That's
lodging.
not what they're looking for.
What are they looking for then? I'd love to hear.
Okay. The reason it ends up in the city council's chambers is because there's issues.
Sure.
Noise, trash, parking.
Yeah.
The biggest one is noise complaints.
So, NIMBYism.
Yes.
Okay.
And nobody wants it. Now, like I said, we try to make sure that we got plenty of street parking around where we're at. So, but it doesn't mean our neighbors aren't taking notice.
You're right.
Yeah.
But, if it's your home and you just decide you're going to throw parties every weekend, I mean, you could be a noise problem without being an Airbnb.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when we had a pool, I was living back east at the time, my pool was always filled with teenagers.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not quiet.
What? No. But, I mean, anybody can make noise, be disruptive with garbage and trash and cars and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
but
and to me, I think these are kind of nuisances. They can be addressed.
Yeah.
You just need to,
most cities already have ordinances in place for these things. I mean, like usually you have to like start toning the noise down around 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, 10 o'clock. Yeah, but you got to be concerned that there are neighbors around that can hear you. It's just, my mom used to say, "All right, I'm going to bed, guys. Keep it down to a dull roar."
Right.
It's just, I'm not going to interfere with you guys having fun.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm trying to get some sleep and just.
I got to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't need you guys keeping me up all night.
So,
and
but
you're a New Englander, so I know you guys are loud.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hey, we're also champions.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. For how many years now?
well, if we're just talking football, but I mean, we won the World Series.
Yeah, that's true.
We won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And Monday starts the Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And the Bruins are in.
Yeah, they got a shot.
And I'm a big
too.
hockey fan, so I'm looking forward to it.
They got a good chance, but just let the West Coast win every once in a while.
Well, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, that's true.
So run. Whatever you're doing in life, if it's working, let it work.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that train eventually is going to hit a station and it's going to, come to a stop.
Yeah, exactly. So with the Airbnb stuff, obviously Temecula, there's some issues because we got a lot of people that have issues with all the different nuances.
Yeah, they're still trying to
this.
decide how it's going to work, but they're going to limit it, to 120 days. I don't want to be limited to 120 days. I'm a 365 day.
Yeah, exactly. The total amount of time that you could have somebody occupy it throughout the year would be 120. Which
and
is 1/3.
It's not going to be a profitable model at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole purpose of this is to bring profit, and some people use Airbnb as a way to supplement their their mortgage payment, so they can
not a bad way to go. It's just you have to be able to do it right. It's about the guest experience,
right.
Which hotels don't give them that. They give them a place to sleep, and they may offer breakfast in the morning.
Sure.
And those rooms aren't all that clean.
Sometimes, yeah.
I've been in Las Vegas, and I've walked in the room and said, "This is not good."
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing, and you're staying in a strip hotel, and you think, this is going to be the best they have to offer in Las Vegas. And sometimes you're like, how is this bathtub still even in this room? This thing needs to be glazed again.
Yeah.
Cracked tiles.
And I wasn't really aware of Airbnb and that this kind of existed. And now that we are a super host and we do the Airbnb and we've traveled using Airbnb, I don't think we'll ever go back.
Yeah.
We can travel the world with Airbnb.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's Airbnb everywhere.
Yeah.
And now you guys have this.
So now, we're international.
Different.
So Patrick, who got us started, like I said, he's very knowledgeable, very passionate. And so he had decided to go down to Mexico and had this plan, and he had gone down to Mexico and go and come back, and he's all excited, and he talked to us, and because we're, kind of his students at that point, and he said, "Well, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to do it." And he goes, "Why don't you guys come down?" So Julie and I went down, and we're starting to see some of this great architecture, and the city has a lot to offer. I wasn't sure I was going to like Mexico City.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the city. A city's a city.
Right. Yeah, it's a big urban town. It's hustling and bustling.
But there's so much going on, and so much history, and the museums, and I really did love it.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have Patrick, who speaks Spanish.
Right.
So for a gringo like me,
right.
Although I could get along, he was excited. He'd be in the back. I'd be in the front with the Uber driver, and I'd be trying to convert her. "Hey, you're doing okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's limited." No, you tell him what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was helpful. And so now, we're down there. We rehab this building. We've got 2 floors now. We may get a third.
Yeah.
And it's about 6 months old now, and we're turning the corner.
What was this building used as before? I don't think I knew that.
No, it's an apartment.
It was an apartment before.
It's an apartment building, apartment complex. So we went
renovating it like an apartment.
Yeah, and it was a mess. I mean, the floors were bad, the tiles were bad, the walls were bad. And if it's going to be an Airbnb experience, it's got to be...
It's got to be decent.
It's got to be good, yeah. So, because it's all about the reviews.
Right.
to kind of give my secrets away here. Which reminds me, I got a webinar I want you guys to maybe hop on later today. I'll give you that information later.
Yeah, we got about 6 minutes or so left, 5 minutes.
Patrick is doing that actually tonight at 6:30. And why don't I give it to you since we're on that subject?
Yeah, might as well.
So anybody who's interested in Airbnb, we're talking about the secrets, or Patrick is talking about the secrets. A lot of people are successful, but, most are not. Because there's only going to be a certain amount of people that's going to fit on the top page. Mm-hmm. Now, I could show you. I got my listing. We are number one.
No kidding. In Temecula.
In Murrieta, actually.
Oh, Murrieta. Okay.
Yeah. For the private bedroom with a shared bath in that price range, and the competition is high.
Yeah.
And to have that number one position, it's not because of David and Julie.
Yeah.
It's because we were taught correctly.
Exactly.
How, because if you understand the technology today, it's all about algorithms.
Of course.
Now, we know the term.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to me?
Yep.
It means that, every touch, everything, every item is calculated and tracked and monitored. And,
yeah.
And that will either push up your listing or push down your listing.
Sure, yeah.
And like I said, in the beginning, it's all about the 5 stars. With the 5 stars, you need to, that's what's going to give you the traction to move forward.
Yeah.
And it's cleanliness.
Absolutely.
It's ease of access. It's having, the house manual, making it easy for the guests when they're getting there. I don't have to be at my house when guests check in.
Right. Because you have a whole
yeah,
absent
we
check-in
send them,
process.
it's a short, welcome letter, but everything is in there. My
Yeah.
Wi-Fi passcode, where to park, how to get in,
Yep.
where the room is, and, if you have any questions, we'll be home soon.
Yeah, exactly. And so if anybody wants to go on this webinar, how do they get to this thing?
Okay, so, quickly register, because he's going to be doing it at 6:30 tonight. It's the airbnbexperts.com. So the Airbnb experts, plural.com. Go register for that. You'll get to meet Patrick.
Yep.
And Patrick, he's a very dynamic speaker.
Yeah.
He's very passionate. He's going to give away some of the secrets, how to be successful.
Yep.
And we're hoping to do more of these webinars. This is our first one.
Okay.
And I'm kind of on the outside, but we're trying to help Patrick market this as,
Absolutely. Yeah, and Patrick's super nice guy. He's been on the show a couple times. So,
yeah.
For those faithful listeners who've been around for a while, they've seen Patrick on here before. And you can always check those if you go to the KCAA website. You can look back in the old podcast to see the old interviews with Patrick. But, with just a couple minutes left, I'm going to take a minute and plug the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. Because,
absolutely.
If it weren't for that group, David and I would have never met. So,
that's true.
The Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club is just a group of real estate investors that get together here in the Inland Empire. We have one major meeting every month on the 4th Wednesday, which was yesterday. Last night. Yeah, we had a good meeting. Considering the rain and considering the fact that I think a lot of people think it's on the last Wednesday of the month, we still had a pretty good turnout. So, but yeah, we had a good speaker last night. Great information, great stuff, a lot of good networking. You can go to meetup.com, look up the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, and get all the information about upcoming events. We have about 4 different things we do every single month, so there's plenty of opportunities to get in front of some investors. So come on out, a real supportive environment. And, we try to help out people as best we can.
Well, just so you know, Todd, it was your club that actually, I've done more business with people in your club.
Yeah.
That it's a great resource for new investors and people to come along. If you're thinking about investing in real estate, don't miss it.
Yeah, don't miss it. I couldn't agree with you more. So, again, we do that at the Mission Inn in Riverside, and all the details are on meetup.com.
Yeah,
so
come on out.
Come on out, meet David.
You'll meet me. I'm there every month.
Yep, you're there every month. Yeah, at several of the different events we do. So, yeah, come on out. And thank you all for tuning in. Thanks, David, for coming out.
Hey, thank you very much, Todd, for having me.
Yep, we'll see you all again next week.